Anne Bonny, the Irish pirate who sailed circles around her peers. Born to scandal in Ireland, she fell in love with Calico Jack Rackham and joined the pirate life in the 1720s. She fought on the William wearing men's clothes because that made more sense than being honest about her identity. Her crew didn't realize she was a woman until battle was underway. She was vicious, quick with a cutlass, and had the reputation that made merchants surrender without a fight. When Jack got captured and hanged, Anne's last recorded words were cold. "I'm sorry to see you here, but if you had fought like the man you're supposed to be, you wouldn't have hanged like a dog." After that, she disappeared from the historical record, possibly escaping under an assumed name. Mary Red was Anne Bonny's crewmate, though they met only after both had reinvented themselves as men. She had been dressing as a man long before piracy, working as a soldier and sailor. She joined Calico Jack's crew as Mark Reed, still disguised and deadly. When she and Anne discovered each other's true identity aboard the William, something clicked. Two women passing as men in a world that wouldn't let them be themselves. They fought side by side, understood each other in ways no male crew member could. When authorities caught their ship, Mary fell pregnant and her execution was delayed. She died in prison from fever before Jack ever made it to the gallows, proof that women could fight as brutally as anyone on the high seas. Qing Shi took female piracy to a scale that made Anne and Mary look like apprentices. This Chinese pirate commanded over 1,800 vessels and between 70,000 and 80,000 pirates at her peak. That's not a crew. That's an army. She inherited power when her husband died, and immediately expanded it into the most powerful pirate organization ever assembled. She issued codes, taxed merchant ships passing through her waters, and essentially became a legitimate government on the seas. China's official navy couldn't stop her. She negotiated directly with Beijing and eventually took a royal pardon that made her an admiral with thousands of followers. She turned piracy into a political career move and became one of history's most successful military commanders. Jeanne de Clisson was a medieval pirate fueled by revenge. Her Breton husband was executed by the Duke of Brittany in 1343, and Jeanne responded by going nuclear. She bought 3 warships, painted them black with blood-red stripes, and hunted the Duke's convoys for 13 years. She became so terrifying that merchant fleets would flee at her approach. Medieval women in boats were terrifying when motivated, and Jeanne proved revenge could be both methodical and devastating. Alwilda was either a legendary Swedish pirate princess or a complete myth, but honestly, who cares? The legend is too good not to include. According to the tales, she was a princess who didn't want an arranged marriage, so she stole a ship and became a pirate instead. She led a crew, fought battles, and only stopped when she fell in love with another pirate captain, who turned out to be her match in every way. They combined their crews and sailed together through Scandinavian waters. Whether Alwilda actually existed or was someone's fever dream from the Viking Age, she's everything a legend should be. Defiant, fearless, and completely unbothered by the rules everyone else was following. Sayyidah al-Hurra ruled the Mediterranean as a queen and pirate simultaneously, which is basically cheating, but also brilliant. She was an Andalusian Muslim woman who became Sultana of Tetuan in North Africa in the 1500s. She controlled her own navy, raided Christian ships, and handled diplomacy like she'd been trained for it. She negotiated treaties, captured prizes, and turned piracy into statecraft. She was respected enough that even the Ottoman Empire dealt with her as an equal. She had her own fleet and ports, and she answered to nobody except herself. She coordinated attacks with the Ottoman Navy against Christian ships. Her wealth grew through both legitimate trade and maritime raiding. She married multiple times, always retaining power, which is precisely what makes her one of his. Ori's most underrated power moves, a woman who managed to be both pirate and statesman in an era when women weren't supposed to be either. Grace O'Malley was Irish nobility who became a pirate, which is basically the most badass resume switch in maritime history. Born into a powerful Irish clan in the 1500s, she inherited leadership when her father died. She commanded galley ships, raided merchant vessels, and protected Irish interests in waters no official navy was bothering with. She had enough power that when the English tried to take over Ireland, she negotiated directly with Queen Elizabeth I as an equal. 2 women, 2 thrones, basically on equal footing. The meeting was conducted in Latin since they shared no common language. Grace demanded support for her people and protection from English persecution. She ran her fleet from Rockfleet Castle, raided ships, and lived into her 70s doing exactly what she wanted. Shy. Is less pirate and more privateer, but the distinction didn't matter when you controlled the seas around your homeland. Her legacy inspired Irish resistance for generations. Maria Lindsay served aboard pirate ships in the 1720s, and unlike some of her more famous counterparts, she didn't disguise herself. She just showed up, fought, and apparently nobody questioned it too much. Or maybe they did, but it didn't matter because she was competent. Records are sparse, which is probably why she's less famous than Anne Bonny, but she was there, she was vicious, and she mattered. She participated in multiple raids and was known for her skill with weapons. The fact that we have so little information about her mostly tells us that the historical record wasn't interested in documenting the women who didn't become dramatic legends. She represents countless other female pirates whose names never made it into official records. Chung Yi-shi, working with Qing Shi, helped consolidate the pirate confederation that ruled the South China Sea. She operated as a captain in her own right, commanding vessels, and participated in the most organized pirate operation ever assembled. When Qing Shi eventually accepted amnesty and became an admiral, Chung Yi-shi's role diminished, but not before she'd proven that Asian female pirates operated on a completely different scale than their Atlantic counterparts. Jacquot Delahaye was a Haitian pirate who literally faked her own death. She operated in the 1650s, got tired of the pirate life, and announced her retirement. Then, supposedly, she came back. Some accounts say she was executed, others say she just disappeared into legend. The truth is murky, and the legends are better, which is probably how Jacquot would have wanted it anyway. She wasn't as documentable as Anne Bonny, but she was fearless enough to disappear and maybe reappear, which is a power move in itself. Lady Killigrew was an English pirate's wife who became a pirate herself in the 1500s. Her husband was a privateer, and she decided to get in on the action by launching attacks on merchant vessels from her home base in Cornwall. She robbed ships, collected plunder, and lived openly in England despite the risk of execution. She was eventually caught and executed, making her one of the last women hanged for piracy in England. What made her remarkable wasn't just her actions, but her brazen refusal to hide or apologize for anything. She operated in broad daylight, known by her neighbors, and only faced consequences decades into her career. That kind of audacity in a woman marked her as extraordinary in early modern England. If you've made it this far into the lives of history's most dangerous women, hit subscribe, drop a like, ring the bell, and tell me in the comments which female pirate you think was the most terrifying. Because in a history usually written by men, these women still managed to become legends nobody could ignore.